Mm.
Okay. We are live. Welcome back. Welcome back to another episode of the God Standard podcast. This is episode 8. Episode 8. We've made it this far, okay, by the grace of Allah. And it is God's mercy, another chance for change with our Brother Winford X. Thank you for coming on the podcast today. We appreciate your time.
Absolutely, sister.
Okay, as most of you know, if this is your first time watching, this is the God Standard podcast. And this is a podcast that is aimed at teaching and shedding light to the original people of the planet. That's the Black and brown people, the original people. And, just sharing the experiences and the stories of brothers and sisters who have, used the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and have, become gods in their own respective lane and pretty much been doing that by, by applying the teachings. So
Absolutely.
we're going to start off with a little bit of an intro. So you guys can get to know our brother. Okay. So here we go. At the tender age of 19, Winford X was sentenced to 17 and a half years in federal prison, where he served 15 years, leaving behind a 7-month pregnant young woman with whom he would have his first child. Fast forward to being released at 34 years old and coming home to a 15-year-old son, determined to change his past would be a serious challenge ahead of him. Equipped with the life giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided and taught by the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, he gained a chance to face the heavy trials and tribulations that awaited him in a world so deeply shaped in iniquity. Determined to change is not a one time celebration, but a moment to moment reality that one must face every single day you are alive and breathing. No matter how dark your world may be, light is always present. Praise be
Absolutely.
to Allah.
Man,
I don't
beautiful.
welcome you again.
Beautiful, sister. Thank you. Thank you. That was amazing. I'm happy, I'm honored to have this opportunity to be here on your podcast, gracing your platform, and for all those who are in attendance, may Allah continue to bless you and your foundations, and let's get going.
Yes, sir. Okay, so I definitely want to get into your story,
Yes.
your personal story. But before we do that, I want to kind of get into like determined to change, right?
Yes.
And like if we look at what it means to be determined to do something, right? It means that you're kind of like you're setting it in stone. You're setting it in stone before it actually comes into fruition, right?
That's
You're already putting the intention out there to make it be, regardless of what might come, in between that, right?
yes, ma'am.
So I want to know, like, okay, you're determined to change, right? But how important is like the right attitude or the mindset to like to being determined to change on one hand, but how have you been able to like keep your mind in check to get to that determination of the goal, like to get to that goal?
Yes. First, I would like to open up in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah. Muhammad is His messenger and exalted Christ. And I further bear witness that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan is the extension of the Son of Man. Greeting and peace to all. Universal greeting. Assalamu alaikum. Just to answer that question, that is a deep question, sister. You know, what does it take, and how does that come about? Being determined to change. It's trials and tribulations. Honestly, it's what you go through every day. It's perseverance. And one thing that we do is, before understanding the reality of God and the reality of change, you know, you don't know what's happening. You know, you don't know what's going on, and sometimes it takes certain situations to be in that you cannot count on other people that you've always counted on, as far as, like, parents, father, mother, grandmother, grandfather, immediate family, people who are close to you, uh, older people that you know that are close to you. something has to happen to where, Almighty God Allah will get you to yourself. So
Right.
now, when there is no one that you can count on uh, at that time on the surface of that person, because you're not understanding the reality of yourself. You're not even understanding the reality of that person or any human being at that time. So Allah has to get you by yourself. Something has to happen before you're able to start reflecting and start being able to ponder, as the Quran says, on your condition and on your situation. And hopefully, inshallah, something happens to where you start to spiritually awaken and you start connecting the dots, and that's what happened to me.
Right. 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 Okay. Praise be to Allah. So, but like, okay, so when you get into the trials and tribulations, like,
Yes,
what are you telling yourself? What are you reminding yourself? Like, what helps you like keep that determination to say, okay, like I can move past this, or you know what I mean? Because it's sometimes
yes,
it's rough. It's rough for people out here.
yes, it is. Well, again, you know, before I came into the life-giving teachings of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided and taught by the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, before we even understand the reality of God, let's keep in mind we still have a reality of a spirit that is conscious in us, but we may not be conscious of it.
Right.
So just because I didn't like previously, before coming into uh, the Nation of Islam, understanding the reality of God, being able to uh, ponder on certain things before I heard the Honorable Miss Louis Farrakhan,
Right.
because I was determined before that,
Okay.
right? I was determined before that, but was unconsciously determined, right?
Right.
I was still conscious of a bigger force, a higher power, but I didn't know how to structure it. I didn't know how to shape it.
Right.
But I always knew that in that reality of myself, doing 15 years in a federal penitentiary, honestly, that's where that determination came from. Because again, like I was saying previously, something happens to us when we put in a situation. Um, it forces you to gain wisdom. It forces
Right.
you to look at your situation, and naturally, and this is another thing that we know, that we are connected directly to a higher power, a supreme being in us. When something happens to us unconsciously, we always say, "Oh my God," you
Right.
know, or "Oh God," we ain't talked to God, we ain't prayed, but soon as something happens, "Hey God, this is your
That's
boy,"
right. That's
this your
right.
boy, "Hey, I need you." That is a natural inclination towards your witnessing, and your bearing witness of your existence, that there is a higher power, but
Right.
you're not conscious of it in the sense to where you're understanding it, but it's still there.
Right.
So that determination for me happened uh, at the age of 19, as you opened up and introduced.
Right.
When I went to prison, that's when I knew that I was determined, because I didn't want to die there. I've seen brothers come to prison and never go home. They go home in a box. They,
Right.
get into certain altercations. There's a stabbing. Brother have a heart attack. And the first thing I'm thinking about is these people have family too.
Right. Exactly.
So to see someone pass away in prison, knowing that they have a family that's concerned about them, that's connected to them, they'll never be able to see that person again.
Right.
So even in that, excluding the teaching, that still is a recognition of being determined, because God is still Allah.
Right.
It's still, that consciousness is still present, in those situations, to get you to reflect.
Right. 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 That's right. That's right. Okay. So getting more into, the process, or, the stages of you being in prison, like,
Yes.
could you speak to what was it like going through like different
Oh
like
man.
going through different periods of time? Because I imagine, like, from what I understand anyways, is like you go in, then you're waiting for you're waiting for your sentence, and then you get your sentence, but then you kind of got out early. So like, what were all those, like, where was your mind state during those times?
Well, I mean, let's first of all, let's take it back to what we all seen on TV growing up. And
Right,
you see movies, and they make uh images about what goes on in prisons, right?
right,
um Unconsciously, these things are recorded in your mind. It's
right,
downloading data. So as we grow up and we see movies with scenes of prison and penitentiaries, and these things and these horrible things that go on in prison, you always say, "Oh, I don't want to go there," or "I don't. That's not a life for me," and these
right,
types of things, right? But as we see these images, unconsciously, it's downloading data. So when you're actually put in that situation in real life, you're actually there. Uh, what happens is, man fear what he don't understand.
right,
That's a natural thing. You fear what you don't understand. So going into a situation like that, not understanding, all I have is images, man, big people, big guys in prison. If you're a little guy, they're you got a high possibility of getting raped, or it's gangs in prison. It's so much that runs through your mind.
right,
When you enter that situation, and those things did run through my mind, and knowing that I was going to be away from, my dad, my mother, knowing I was going to be away from family, knowing that it's a possibility that that I may run into enemies that I was enemies with on the street.
right,
All that takes place, in your mind. It's running 100 miles per hour in your mind, and yes, you're afraid.
right,
You're afraid. I'm 19 years old, so yes, I'm afraid going into that setting, but at the same time, I'm having to prepare myself very, very quickly to know that, hey, if anything goes on, I have to be ready to stand up, and I have to be ready to face it,
right,
and deal with it accordingly, however it comes. So um, that was knowing I was leaving behind a young woman that was 7 months pregnant.
right,
It was very stressful. It was very, very stressful. Not knowing that my money can't get me out of this situation, uh, and I just knew that it was going to be a long journey, sister.
right. Wow. I never considered that too, because like in the streets, it's like you can do whatever you want if you have money, right?
Right.
Like money,
Exactly.
money talks. You live a certain type of lifestyle, but it's like in that situation, it's like, man, I can't
Right.
pay enough to get out of this, right? Like,
No, you can't.
right,
Especially being in uh, a federal prison, because you're sentenced differently than you would be on an average if it was a state case or anything like that. But
right,
my 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 uh my my uh my crime was aggravated bank robbery with a deadly weapon.
right,
So me and I had a crew, and like I said, we was in the streets, and when you in the streets, and the main priority being in
right,
the streets is to get the money,
right,
right?
right,
That's the reflection. Whatever the reality is, as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan once said, he said that no matter how strong of a person as an individual you may be, he
right,
said the environment produces heredity.
mm,
So no matter if you are a good person, but the environment that you're in is going to turn you into itself.
right,
And we see that all over the United States, Canada, anywhere, all over the world where there are the darker people,
right,
a human being, period. We see common behavior.
right,
We see the common behavior because there is something that is playing in the mind, and we have a supreme teacher amongst us with such great wisdom. And I didn't understand that until I was already in prison to hear those words of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And it took me all the way back to looking at my environment, because my father,
Right.
I give all my father the highest accolades, because he was, my father is still alive and we're still best friends today.
Right.
All the way through my 15-year sentence, he was there. All praises due to Allah. And my father was a working man. He always worked. He never was, he used to be a street guy, but when I never seen that, I always
Right.
seen a working man, and always gave me good morals. Yes, sir. No, sir. Yes, ma'am. No, ma'am. Summertime's coming up. I always play sports. I played football, basketball, ran track. I was in reading programs in the summertime. So I wasn't raised with my mother. My father
Right.
raised me. When my father and my mother divorced, I was 6 years old. I went with my dad. And the reason I went with my dad, of course, I didn't know about it, but as I became of age, my father told me that going to court, my mother wanted me, my father wanted me.
Right.
And naturally, when your parents separate, naturally the child want to go with the mother,
Right. Right. Right.
because that's just a special
Right.
connection to the child and mother. Allah says, in fact, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad and the honorable Minister Farrakhan teaches us that the first God of the child is the mother,
That's right.
right?
That's right.
Because a child is not conscious of the reality of God in the sense of understanding the supreme being.
Right.
The supreme being to a child is the mother. So that connection was there. But my father, he fought for me. And as I got older, he, told me, hey man, we went to court. I told the judge, hey, I know she's his mother. She can love him, but she can't teach him how to be a man.
For sure.
That's my job. And just off of those words alone, the judge granted my father custody of me. I have a sister 3 years older than me. She went with my mom, and I have an
Right.
older brother by my mother. Of course, he went with my mom as well. But I was 6 years old when they separated, and I went with my father. And just being able to have, just to hear that and know that, man,
Right.
it was something powerful. But even though my dad did what he could, the environment,
Mm.
very powerful, very
Absolutely.
powerful. Because guess what? You can give me the yes sirs and no sirs and yes ma'ams and no ma'am, but guess what's going to happen when we are in an environment where we in a neighborhood that's selling drugs? It's a gang infested environment.
Right.
I'm around these things, and so when it's time for my dad to go to work, guess who's at home by themselves? Me,
Right. Right.
right? So now I have an opportunity to go and explore. I'm roaming, I'm looking. Wow, what is this going on over there? What's
Right.
going on over here? That's where I pick up all of, selling dope and hustling and the nice cars and, multiple women and who got the juice over here. This guy got the juice. This guy got the juice. So naturally, you want to start seeing yourself in the same sense.
Right. For sure.
So now when this takes place, sister, now me and my father, as I grow older, 14, 15, 16, I'm not so much into the sports anymore.
Right. Right. Right.
My grades are starting to drop, right? Because now I have another entrance. Now
Right.
I'm interested in the environment. I'm interested in the things that I'm breathing on every single day. So now uh, it's starting to build a wedge between my father and I. That's how important this thing is.
Right. Right.
What the
Right.
Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan teaches us about the environment produces heredity, and you become the environment. That's what it does. The things outside of it, it saturates inside of the home, and it
Right.
breaks up the home.
Right. Right.
And
Right. Right.
these things started to happen, and by the time I knew it, I was hustling. I was carrying a pistol every day. I was getting into it with different guys. I was gang affiliated. I was selling dope. I was selling weed. I was running around with a pistol. I was robbing banks. And by the
Right.
time I knew it, when I looked up, it was me versus the United States of America in a federal penitentiary.
Dang. Dang, dang, dang. Yeah, that's it's a consideration that we as parents have to make too, right? Like the
Absolutely.
environment, because I bear witness, like most of us grew up, not most of us, but many of us grew up in that environment, being in the hood, and it's like what you see, it's like these people that are supposed to be even it's on one hand it's your peers that are like your or in your age group, but then on the other hand it's like elders too who might not be your parents, but it's elders out in the streets that they don't even know better. Like they can't teach
Right.
you anything because they're in it. They're
Right.
in it with you. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely I bear witness to that. I bear witness to that for sure.
Yes, ma'am.
So okay, so moving on to like you being in prison now, and
Okay.
um I heard you say before on another podcast, I think that you came into Islam
Right.
and then you came into like the Nation of Islam. So could you speak about like just being in prison and like how did you grow up religious? Like were you Christian? Like how did you come to Islam in
Yes.
general?
Yes. Yes. Thank you for your question. You know, the average black man and woman in America, and I can only speak for America. Uh, we were Christians, right? Uh, Not really understanding what Christianity means. I'm
Right,
not saying every black family, but the majority of black families Christianized, I would
right,
say. Um, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan say that we were all taught by the same slave master, right?
absolutely.
Now, this knowledge and this understanding dawned on me, of course, later in the journey, but as I received it, I can always travel back and I can look at the childhood and I can see that, yes, it wasn't, my parents wasn't, when my parents separated, um, me going with my dad, it wasn't a mandatory thing to be in church. We never
Right,
we never really went to church. Only time we went to church Easter time. Oh, okay, you get you a suit, get your little suit. Okay, take little pictures. Go with my grandmama, and then we go to hide the little eggs and stuff like that
right.
and stuff, right? So that's kind of like grandmama called every now and then. Boy, you want to go to church? Nope, you going anyway. Okay, it was one of them type of things, right?
Right,
So
right,
so so, and then I started going to this little boys club, boys and girls club, and they would come pick us up in a little van, and we would go to church every Sunday. But guess
right,
what? We going to church because they telling us, hey, after church, man, we making we buying pizza and hamburger. We were like, yeah, we going then.
right, right, right,
We gonna go to we gonna be in church 2-3 hours, sitting there, and the whole time and then there was a white person up there teaching, so I'm not really paying attention, not listening.
right,
Where is these burgers and fries at? Where is the pizza at, man? Come on with it. So we would, play basketball, and they had things for us to do, out, when church was over and stuff like that.
right,
So that's kind of how that's just I'm just giving you a synopsis of how that's what it looked like, right?
right, right,
So once I went into prison, that's when I started to really pay more attention to my environment. And honestly, without me even knowing it, my God sensors raised
right,
just because of the environment.
right,
Because now I'm knowing that, oh, it's real. Oh,
right.
now I'm in a situation to where, okay, this could be life and death.
Absolutely.
And not only that, I got 17 and a half years.
Right,
I'm not going anywhere for a while. I'm going to be here for you. I mean, think about that. 19 years old, you get sentenced to 17 and a half years. You got to do 15 years on 17. That, man, when you first get that type of time, you're not, listen, that's a long way from now.
Right, right, right.
You know, that's a long way. So it's like anxiety sets in. Uh, man, people gonna forget about me. I'm in the land of forgotten. Family
Right.
go on, and not only that, I left a woman out there who's 7 months pregnant with my child,
Right, right, right.
unborn child. So yes, my God senses it raised because now I'm saying to myself, God, I need some help.
Right,
I need some help somewhere somehow. And yes, I came into um Sunni Islam
right,
because when you go into a prison, I can speak on I never been to a state prison, but federal prison, you're going to see more of Sunni Islam, Orthodox Islam, more than you will see the Nation of the Gods.
right,
The brotherhood is just bigger.
right,
And even though my first cellmate, he was a 5%er. He introduced me to this book,
right,
Message to the Black Man.
right, right, right,
And I was so fresh and new. All I wanted to read was hood novels. When you first come in,
right,
I want to read Coldest Winter Ever. I want to read Midnight. I want to read Hustler's Wife. Or I want to read some stuff that's still talking about glorifying the streets because naturally I'm still connected to that.
right.
So
For
I
sure.
read all those books. But as I was introduced this book, Message to the Black Man in America, I read it. And I thought myself it was Malcolm X. I'm like, man, look how you look. You real clean, and it was an older
Right,
brother. And he
right,
gave me the book, and I read it. I read it one time, sister. And after I read the book, it took me probably about a week and a half to read the book. Because
right,
I'm read 2 chapters, put it down. Still, I'm getting used to the bid. I'm getting used to being in this environment. I'm getting used to being in prison. And
right,
so it took me about a week and a half to read the book, right? And so as I finished the book, I put the book back on his bed, went about my way doing whatever. I come back into the room, the book is on my bed again. And so I'm like, yo, like I'm bugging really. I'm like, damn, maybe he was cleaning up, he just left it on my bed or whatever. And I put it back on his bed, right? So I'm, moving around or whatever. And I go back out of the room, I'm, doing whatever. And I come back, the book is on my bed again. And so I'm asking him, I'm like, yo, my man, like, what you got going? Like, you cleaning up or something, I understand. So I'm trying to be respectful. So I'm like, man, you keep
right,
leaving this book on my bed. So he was like, no, I left it on your bed because I want you to read it again.
right,
And I was like, all right, cool. I read the book again. This time it take me probably, you know, 5 or 6 days to read. I went through the same sequence, put the
right,
book back on his bed. I go out throughout my day, come back, book on the bed again. Now I got questions. Say, bro, now you trying to act like you trying to play on me or something? Now you trying to play me for weak or something? What's your angle? Like
right,
what's your motive, man? What you got going on? You know? And so he was like, no, I want you to read the book one more time, man. Just read it one more time.
right.
I read the book again, sister, and this time it took me probably 3 days.
So sorry, that was the fourth time, right? Is
No,
that
this is the
correct?
third time.
Third time. Okay.
This is the third time. So
Yes, sir.
the third time, it took me like 3 days. So
Right,
every time I'm reading this book, I'm cutting down on the days,
right,
right?
right,
Now, as I finished it, I put it back on his bed, and when I came back into the room, he said, man, sit down.
right,
He had been incarcerated for like 23, 24 years at the time.
right,
And when I sat down, he said, um, do you know why I took you through that sequence, reading the book one time, then reading it again, and then reading it again for a third time? I said, no, man, I'm very curious. Why did you want me to read that book 3 times? He said, well, the first time I wanted you to read it just to get the knowledge of it.
Right.
He said the second time I wanted you to read it, I wanted you to read it to get wisdom, to pull some wisdom from the book.
Right. Right. Right.
And he said the third time I told you to read it, I wanted you to get an understanding.
Right. Right. Right.
And he said everything that we do, he said being a Muslim, being a 5%er, being a God, he said you have to do things in threes. This is supreme mathematics. I had never heard this before.
Right. Right. Right.
And I was like blown away. I was like, dang, that was tough. You know, on how you just ran it down to me. And he said, yes, everything that we do it for knowledge.
Right.
Knowledge is the first thing to know. Knowledge, without knowledge, nothing can happen. So you
Right.
have to have knowledge of a thing. And in order to uh, apply the knowledge, that's when wisdom comes in. When you apply knowledge, it births and it manifests wisdom.
Right.
So after the wisdom, in the scriptures it says, with all thy getting thy knowledge, make sure to get thy understanding.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
so when I read it the third time, and he said that understanding, even though knowledge is good, he said understanding is even greater. And
Right.
when he said that, I said, wow, man, I thought he was Malcolm X. I was like, man,
Right.
who is you? Like, what? How did you know that? You know, this and that. But that was my first experience
Right.
on my journey to the reality of God. But I didn't stay there. I didn't
Right.
stay there with the teaching of what he was doing, because it was a lot of brotherhood of the Sunnis there. So I became a Sunni Muslim. I heard the Adhan. That's what got me. When I heard the Adhan, and brothers was calling the Adhan in our unit, in our building, and I was like, what is that?
Wow.
And
Alhamdulillah.
the way that he called it, it softened my spirit, it softened my heart. And I
Naturally.
could and I was observing the other brothers as he was calling the Adhan, and I'm looking at their faces, I'm looking at them, and I'm seeing them, they gathering together, they're getting their prayer rugs down, and they're putting their musalas down, and they're getting ready to pray, and they all lined up. I had never seen that before.
Right. Right.
And I was like, wow, what is this? And so when they finished, one of the brothers, I pulled him to the side. Hey man, what was you saying? What was you singing just then?
Right.
And he said, it's not a sing, it's more like a chat. It's a chanting. And I said, well, can you teach me how to do that? I want to
Right.
learn what you were saying. And that brother told me, said, I will teach you. And he did teach me. He taught
Right.
me the Adhan. And when I transferred it over to English and was understanding what was being said,
Right.
I took my Shahada.
Praise be to
I
Allah.
took my Shahada and I became a member of the Sunni Muslims. And my Muslim name was Eunice.
Mm.
That is Jonah.
Right.
Jonah, the whale. And so it started happening so fast because, like I said, my God senses, it started rising, but this was the beginning of the journey of me coming into the reality of God.
Right. Right. Right.
And I became the Muezzin. I started calling, because when they heard me call the Adhan, they said, man, brother, how you can sound like that? I
Right.
said, I don't know. I said, I just learned it, and that's just the way I said it. And they said, we want to make you the Muezzin.
Right.
And from that point on, sister, I was calling the Adhan. I had been incarcerated at that time around like 2 years.
Right.
I was 21 years old when I took my Shahada.
Right.
And
Right.
I
Right.
came and I came in and I became the Muezzin, and my name was Eunice, Jonah. And I got that name because if you know the story of Jonah, when God gave Jonah assignment and on a mission, he was running from his assignment.
Right. Right. Right.
He was running from the mission that God wanted for him.
Right.
And I felt that for myself.
Right.
That's when I started to reflect on a lot of things. And when I became Sunni, uh, it was a racist penitentiary that I was at, I was in El Reno, Oklahoma. Big old white boys, big cornbread fed redneck white boys, and they looking, boy. They they see that I'm a youngster. They see that I'm a Muslim, and I end up
Right.
getting into an altercation with a white officer. And make a long story short, I end up spending 1 year in the hole. I was in the hole for 14 months straight,
Wow.
and that's when I called out to Allah. And um, I mean, keep in mind, I was gang affiliated with Bloods
Right.
there, and I was making a transition. So I had one foot over here with the affiliation of Blood Gang, and then I was still, took my shahada, being Muslim and these types of things. And so when I did my time in the hole, my 14 months, that gave me solitude. I was by myself,
Right.
and that's when a lot of things started to transition.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
I was by myself. So, I was like, okay, when I came out, I left the blood stuff alone and I got with the brotherhood, and I was on with the brotherhood, man, from that point on. And I was the Muezzin, I called the Adhan for 7 years,
Right.
and moving up, man,
Wow.
man, it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Okay. Praise be to Allah. Wow. Wow. When you said Jonah, it made me think of the whale, and
Yeah,
then you being in the hole made me think of the whale. Like
absolutely.
that
Exactly.
connection. That's
Yep.
interesting.
Praise be to Allah.
Wow. And yeah, I just wanted to say that the Christianity part that you were saying, and you were saying you can only speak for American, it's the same all across the board. So
Absolutely.
whether you're in Canada, whether you're in the Caribbean, it's like that Christianity has our people
Right.
by the neck. So even if
Mhm.
like you said, like even if people are not like in church every Sunday, there's still that, okay, you're going to Easter, you're going to Christmas, and
Right.
you're still calling on Jesus or whatever it is, because it's
Right.
just so ingrained, kind of, you know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So how what was the transition like going from being like a Sunni to like, and
Into the
sorry, let
nation.
me just clarify something. So when the brother was giving you message to the black man,
Yes.
you hadn't joined the Sunni Islam at that time.
No.
Okay. So how
No.
did you get into like the nation? Like, yeah.
Yes. Yes. Okay. So look, this is how I came into the. I love telling this. This is one of the highlights. This is one of my favorite.
Right, right,
Um. Okay. So like I said, I was made the muezzin for 7 years. I was calling the adhan,
right,
and I used to work in the kitchen, and one brother. By this time, I had transferred facilities. I wasn't in Oklahoma. I was back in Texas. I was back, like around my way,
right,
and it was a lot of Sunni Muslims that was there as well. Now, once I'm in this facility, I was working in the kitchen, and one of the brothers, one of my good brothers, man, to this day, I don't know what he's got going on right now. I haven't seen him in years. But my brother Cross, I never forget. My brother Cross, man, he was a brother in the Nation of Islam, and we worked in the kitchen together.
right,
And so every year, right, when Ramadan would come, at this time I'm still Sunni Muslim.
right,
Every time Ramadan would come, by me just studying the Quran, reading the Quran, I would see the brothers that was in the Nation of Islam, and when I would see those brothers, you know, I would always say, "Hey, let's make one congregational salat when we break our fast.
right,
We got Sunni Muslims praying over here. We got the Nation of Islam praying over here, and and no matter my experiences of being incarcerated, it was not. It was always very few brothers that was in the Nation of Islam. You might have
right,
40 brothers that's Sunni Muslims that's on the yard, and then you probably have 7 or 8 brothers that was in the Nation of Islam.
right,
Always like that, right? So when I would see that during Ramadan, I would always say, "Hey, look, by me reading the Quran is not showing me a separation from Sunni Islam, from the Nation of Islam. You're Muslim. You a Muslim, you a Muslim. So why are we having two congregational salats when it's time to break fast during Ramadan? Well, Sunni Islam was telling me, brother Sunni Muslims in the Brotherhood was saying, hey, bro, those are not real Muslims. And I was like, what do you mean they're not real Muslims? I'm not understanding that. Because when I'm reading the Quran, that's not what I'm receiving from Allah. That's not what I'm reading in this Quran. You're saying that those are not real Muslims. Oh, they said Elijah Muhammad is the messenger of God and Farrakhan and all this sort of type of stuff. And I'm like,
Right.
I at this time I really still didn't really know anything in depth about the teachings. And so I was like, but yeah, brother, but I see those brothers making salat. Actually, uh, the way those brothers look, their appearance, their image, even in prison, sister,
Right.
brothers looking very preserved,
Mm.
watching their profanity. A
Right.
lot of brothers not even eating meat. A lot of brothers in the nation, vegetarians, pescatarians. And I'm like, damn, brother, you don't like hamburgers, brother?
Right.
Oh, no, brother, I don't eat that, brother. Damn, brother, you don't like fries, brother? What you eat, black man? So brothers was attracted.
Right.
I was attracted because we know that in the teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided and taught by the honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us that unalike attracts,
Right.
right? And when you're like, you repel.
Right.
So the unalikeness of the brothers that I seen in their appearance in the nation was very attractive.
Right.
I had a big old beard and everything. I
Yeah.
had a big old Sunni Muslim beard and I had braids and I'm thinking Prophet Muhammad, Sunnah.
Right.
I got a Sunnah. My Sunnah is big. I'm combing my Sunnah.
Right.
Y'all
Right.
see my beard. So, but I was always attracted to that. So I was always trying to talk to the imam and talk to the head uh 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 I would say prison minister of the nation, hey man, what do we have to do to make one congregational salat? What do we have to
Right.
do? Because I don't think that we should be doing this. I don't think that we should be saying that, oh, we praying to a different God. I said Allah is the all-knowing, Allah is Allah.
Right.
And
Right. Right.
so the Nation of Islam always agreed with me. They always said, brother, you absolutely right. But I would have pushback from the brothers in the Sunni community.
Right. Right. Right.
And so they said they're kafiruns, brother. I said, you gonna call them brothers a kafir, brother? You gonna call them kafirun? For those who don't know, kafirun means disbeliever.
Right.
And so I said, nah, brother, astaghfirullah. I said, I can't go with that. I can't, I'm not going with that because you calling those brothers disbelievers, but then it's certain things that I see some of us doing that we're not supposed to be doing.
Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
So I'm like, brother, be careful on what you're saying because you're not perfect.
For
None
sure.
of us are. And so I always got pushed back, sister. So one day, going back to my brother Cross, we was in the kitchen and we was always cool with each other. And
Mhm.
the brother was asking, brother, you want to make salat? Of course. Praise be to Allah.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. Let's make salat. So we made salat. So the brother asked me this question, sister, and this is what sparked it. He said, brother, let me ask you something. He said, how do you think that all of these different races and different colors of people came on the earth?
Right.
Here I go with my spookism. I'm spooked out. Here I go. Oh man, Allah just grabbed us. He scooped up the sand from the earth, brother, and just
Mhm.
started making human beings. And it's different colors of sand in the earth. And the brother started laughing. He said, that's what you think, brother?
Right.
Said, yes, sir. I said, Allah can do anything. See, that's always the go-to. Allah
Right.
can do whatever he wants. Allah is God, brother. Allah is the all-knowing, you know. And so he said, yeah, Allah can do what he want to do. He said, but how about this? He said, every human being that you see on this earth, no matter what shades or color, came from the black man and woman. And when he said that, I said, man, you sound crazy as hell. That's what I said to him. I said, you sound
Right.
crazy as hell. Because now I'm saying, so you trying to tell me that a white man with red hair, looking like a caveman, came from a well brown, black skin, burnt black man? How did brother? He came from that. Nah, brother. I just think that Allah scooped up the sand, brother. He said, if I give you something to read, will you read it? I said, of course. That's when I was introduced to study God number 19, the knowledge of God.
Right.
And as I read, I took it back to my dorm. And as I read study God number 19, the knowledge of God, as I started to read, this is when I was introduced to the self-improvement, the basis for community development. I had never knew anything about it.
Right.
At this time, I had never even listened to the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan, not one time, sister.
Right.
So as I took it back to my dorm and took it to my cell, I read it. And what puzzled me is when the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan in knowledge in study guide number 19, he broke down the difference between mind and brain.
Right.
He
Right.
said the mind is far greater than the brain.
Right.
He said the brain is finite. The brain is an organ. He said, but the mind is greater than the brain.
Right.
And when he said that, that set on me. And then it went into the X and Y chromosomes, how the woman only has 23 and the man has 46. And when he started breaking that down, I said, uh-oh, this is science.
Right. Right.
This is mathematics.
Right.
In every man, there is a woman.
Right.
In every man, a man has femininity in his masculine. It's inside of him.
Right. Right. Right.
And so I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I got questions about this. So I wrote down some questions. I couldn't wait to go back to work the next morning.
Right.
And I had questions for my brother. So the next morning, I came back to him. I said, man, this was very, very, very interesting. And then when I started asking questions, he was answering them like this, like
Right. Right.
clockwork.
Right.
And I was like, bro, and I mean, it was like a 1,000-piece puzzle, Sister Ebony. And it was as he was talking and I was asking questions, it's like a 1,000-piece puzzle I was putting together in my mind. It was downloading data. Boom,
Right.
boom. And I said, whoa, whoa, whoa. I said, man, I'm interested in this. He said, hey, he said, I tell you what. He said, when we go to Jumar Friday, he said, instead of going over there to the Sunni Jumar, he said, I want to invite you as my guest to come out to the Nation of Islam. I said, yes, sir, because I wanted to know more about the questions that I had, and he was answering them, and it was making sense. And I said, yes, sir. And the first time that I was introduced to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was the origin of blackness. Wow. That is my favorite lecture to this day. Yes. The origin of blackness was the first time I set eyes on the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And when I started to look at this lecture, when he started breaking down how the white came from black, when he started breaking down the germ, he started talking about the black germ and the brown germ, and the brown germ was laying dormant inside of the original man. Right. And I just started crying because I said to I said, this was the void. Right. Because there is no knock on the Sunni community at all. Those are my brothers. Those are my sisters. Those are our brothers and sisters. But the reality of God is missing. Right. In our Sunni brothers and sisters because they refuse to see Allah as a human being. Right. And as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan started to maneuver and he started to guide and he started to break down the teaching, I started crying because I was actually able to see myself. And that's when I said, I need to know more about this man. After that day, I went back to the chaplain and I would go to by myself and I just thought every DVD that the minister had came out with that we had there, I
Right.
was watching it. I was watching it. I mean 8, 9 hours a day just
Right.
watching lectures. I
Wow.
started ordering books. I started ordering the final call. And so after like 2 weeks, you already know where I'm going with it. After
Right.
2 weeks, I told the imam, hey, I respectfully step back. I'm about to start going to the Nation of Islam. I'm about to
Right.
start, listening with the brothers over here. And
Right.
the email was like, he smiled at me. He said, Alhamdulillah.
Right.
He said, brother, this is a great journey that you're on.
Right.
And he said, who am I to stop a man from learning and traveling on a quest to knowledge, wisdom, and understanding?
Right.
Because honestly, a lot of brothers, sister, a lot of people come into the nation first and then they transfer over and go to the Sunni community.
Right. Right. Right.
I seen a lot of that happen.
Right.
But
Right.
it's very rarely to see a Sunni community brother go to the nation, right?
Right.
But
Right.
I was one of them, and all praise is due to Allah. I came this way, and a lot of the brothers that was in the Sunni community, they stopped salaming me. I was assalamu alaikum, brother. They would stop salaming me. They would just all they would say is walaikum. And for those that are listening, I
Yeah.
want you to understand this. If you are under the life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, guided and taught by the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, you
Right.
are a Muslim. If you give the greetings, assalamu alaikum,
Right.
and there is someone who's a Sunni or an Orthodox or a Shiite or a Hannibal, and they come to a Sufi and they return the greeting and say wa alaikum, that is disrespect.
Mm.
Because what's happening is they're not returning the greeting equivalent or giving you a greater greeting because they're looking at it and they say walaikum, which means I don't really see you as an
Right.
equal.
Right.
I
Right. Right.
learned that being in prison.
Mm.
See? And I started getting that. I was still assalamu alaikum.
Right.
Walaikum, walaikum, walaikum. I said, oh, okay. I know, I see where you at. And then I had a few that would still say walaikum salam. And then I had brothers that would pull up on the side of me and say, hey man, we love your growth. Continue to grow, continue to grow, continue to grow. And that's what I kept doing, sister. And at that time, I had 7 years left to do
Right.
in prison. And that 7 years, all the way up to me coming home, I was in the life-giving teachings of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad,
Wow.
guided and taught by the honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Praise be to Allah. Praise
Yes,
be to
ma'am.
Allah. Wow, that's such a good story. I could definitely relate because I grew up in a neighborhood where there's a lot of Muslims, like mostly Sunni Muslims,
Right.
and I first, like, my best friends and stuff were Muslim. I was always familiar with like Ramadan and Eid and stuff like that, and I was going to convert when I was younger, but I was really young, so my mom was like, yeah, we're not doing that. But
Right.
as I got older and I still had these people like around me, and when I joined the nation, I definitely, it's the same vibe. It's like,
Right.
yeah, we're not even, no,
Right.
I never knew that walaikum. I never knew that, but for
Yes.
me, it's like people just don't even return the greetings. It's just like hi, like
Right. Right.
so it's good. It's good that you shed light on that
Yes,
because
ma'am.
that's
Absolutely.
very, very real.
Yes. 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 Definitely.
Okay, so I just want to ask before I go on. I have like three more questions. I know the time is kind of up. Like, how are you for
Oh no,
time?
let's
Are you
hey,
okay?
I'm here. I'm here. I'm comfortable. Let's
Okay.
get it.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And also too, like, if for the watching audience, if you guys have any questions, feel free to like question, comment down below wherever you're watching from, and I'll be sure to pose the question to our brother.
Yes.
Okay, so I know that from my experience, knowing many of my friends who went to prison, even like family members and whatnot, I find that, and it's not been my experience, so I don't know. This is me asking, right? That I assume that being in in that environment, it almost causes you to go to God because there's nowhere else to turn, right?
Yes.
And I've seen that in a lot of cases, like brothers will get so connected to God in that environment, but then there's a disconnect somehow when you come out because you're
Yes.
back in the lifestyle, you're back in the
Oh
streets for
man, come
whatever
on,
reason,
come
right?
on, come on, come
Right.
on.
So for you, like what kept you, what kept your fire burning, like what kept
Ah,
you going with that and not going back to like the streets and the ways that you were,
yes.
before?
Thank, thank you for the question, sister. Um, I get that a lot as well. Yeah, being in an environment like that, it does, bring you closer to a reality of a reflection of self, because the environment, it shrinks. I mean, any problems that you have, or you get into it with somebody or this and that, you can't, you're not in the world. You can't just go anywhere else and you never see that person again.
Right.
You have to deal with it, whatever the situation is. So, um, and then it's everything is repetition in prison.
Right.
This where the word uh institutionalized comes in at.
Right.
Uh, and I remember we used to make fun of, I'm not gonna be institutionalized. I'm not gonna be institutionalized. Oh, he institutionalized. Man, he's crazy. Oh, look at him. He's institutionalized. But the reality of the fact is, all of us are institutionalized.
Right.
Because when you repeat something for so long, it becomes a pattern, and you become institutionalized because it's an institution that is manifesting the same program over and over and over and over again. Now,
Right.
being institutionalized can be damaging, but it also can be helpful,
Right. Right.
because if you're able to acknowledge a repetition of something. Let's say if you're doing a repetition of something good,
Right. Right.
it becomes institutionalized in a good way,
Right.
right? And so I say that to say that, yes, brothers come in. You see brothers walking to the chapel. It's called the chapel. This is where all the faiths are held at, in the chapel
Right.
building.
Right.
So you see brothers walking with their Bible, praise Jesus, goals and tats, praise Jesus, brother. And you
Right.
like, yes, sir. You see brothers tattoos and goals like myself. Assalamu alaikum, wa alaikum salam, brother. You
Right.
know, you in that environment. It's producing that pattern, that repetitive, that repetition. Hey man, we got to do more of this, this. But let me say this, because I have to give a lot of praise
Right.
in this. You have highs and lows, even in prison. What I mean is, your faith always, even out here, your
Right.
faith, no matter what your denomination is, your faith fluctuates.
Right.
It's not always here.
Right. Right.
Anybody that says, "Oh man, I'm always up here with God and this and that," man, I'm getting away from that person,
Right.
because it's not, you're not being authentic.
Right. Right. Right.
My faith fluctuates. It's times where my faith is low.
Right.
It's times where I don't even want to pray, man. I don't want to get up. I ain't trying to get up. Brother, knock on your door. Time for slide, man. Get away from my door.
Right.
I don't. I'm not right now, brother.
Right.
you know uh you might, something may be happening that you're going through in your personal life, and it takes away from your focus.
Right.
Those things happen,
For
right?
sure.
And the time those things happen, and this is why I want to give a lot of praise,
Right.
because those things happened to me when I was in prison, even being out here. But it's a burning desire
Right.
that Allah lets me know, you belong to me.
Right.
Because I can be off the grid, and when I'm off the grid, that bothers me,
Right. For sure.
because I know I'm not feeling at my best.
Right.
But that is the force of Allah inside of me saying, I still have you in favor.
Right. Absolutely.
But when you can move and do things without any type of conviction, any type of pushback, then that means that Allah has let you go.
Mm.
You are able to do
Wow.
whatever you want without any consciousness of measuring the weight. The Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan
Right.
said that, you know why sometimes you do something and your body feels heavy? He said, because that's the consciousness of Allah weighing down on your brain, weighing down on your thinking, weighing down on your spirit, on your reality, on your existence, on your mind, because you know that you're not in sync with the righteousness of the natural order of things.
Right. Right.
So,
Right.
so getting back to your question, brothers in there, when it's time to come home. Now, again, I got to give a lot of praise because it was brothers that was saying, "Oh, that nigga he ain't gonna do that when he get out.
Right.
That nigga ain't gonna be on no this and that. That nigga finna go back and woo 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 woo,
Right. Right.
or
Right.
woo 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 woo, right?" And so when I got out, ups and downs. I come home to a 15-year-old.
Right.
I left 7 months pregnant, not even in existence, still unborn. Come home, 15 years old. Okay, you got a son, 15 years old. You got responsibility. I've
Right.
been gone from 19 to 34. I don't know anything about parenthood.
Right. Right. Right.
So now it's like I'm coming home. I have to be put in a position to be a father, but I don't have the experience.
Right. Right. Right.
I don't have the know-how on how to raise and take leadership and take direction and take the front and lead. So what do? Okay, I knew this enough to come home with those teachings. And what I mean by that is a lot of time when we do a lot of years,
Right.
brothers will leave their Bible or leave their Quran at the door in the prison.
Right. Right. Right.
Because now the reality has come, it's time for you to go home. I've been locked up 20 years. I've been locked up 15. I've been locked up 10. I've been locked up 30 years. The reality has finally come. I can go home and do whatever I want to do.
Right. Right.
Right?
Right. Right.
That time has come now.
Right.
So when I was getting ready to be released, I was afraid, sister. I was afraid because I knew I got responsibilities. I have a 15-year-old man. I ain't been out since I was 19. I'm 34 years old. I'm going back into society at
Right.
34. I ain't been out here since I was 19 years old.
Right.
I'm nervous. I'm afraid. I'm scared. But at the same time, guess what? Oh man, I've been hearing about this Ciroc. I got to try it. Oh, I've been hearing about this Patron. I got to try it.
Right.
Oh, I heard about that Kush. They got that blueberry out there, and they got that so and so. It's called Christmas tree. Oh, I got
Right.
to try that.
Right.
I want to try it. See, so I come home. The women is there. You know, they find out that I'm home. I'm a man now. You
Right.
know, uh uh. So now naturally I'm saying to myself, oh man. Oh, I just want to go to I just want to go to a lounge or to a bar,
Right.
sit back, have me a couple drinks, and man, I've been incarcerated with all these men, all these years.
Right.
I can't wait to be with some soft. I can't wait to be around a woman that smells good and
Right.
talk soft and I can those are natural things that go on in a man.
For sure.
And so I'm not saying this to entertain, and I'm not saying this to make fun of or to be conceited or any type of way. I'm saying this because I want brothers and sisters to know that you're not alone. This is a reality that
Right.
goes on with the human being, and I don't want you to think that God turn his back on you because you feel that way or you end up going through that.
Absolutely.
God is right there with you.
For sure.
That's why Allah says he's the most merciful. He's the most
Absolutely.
merciful because Allah is the only supreme force that can give you room for correction.
Praise be to Allah.
He's the only one that can give you room for correction. So when I was going through these things, I was getting, getting tipsy, and few times I was getting drunk, smoking weed, getting high. I be with this woman, we go out, kick it, chill, do our thing. I be with this woman, kick it, chill, do our thing. And I was still finding my spirit turning to YouTube, listening to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
Right.
Okay, now it's time for me to get it in. It's time for me to focus.
Right.
And I'm saying all that to say, I seen brothers come home that was heavy into the scriptures, heavy into the teachings. When I got out
Right.
and seen them, they was back doing whatever they was doing before they left.
Right.
And so I was asking questions to Allah in myself.
For sure.
Allah, why you ain't let me go back to that? I indulged in certain things that I see them doing, but it's something about me that you weigh that consciousness on me and you spring me up and keep me pushing towards raising my hand.
Right.
And that's how I met Brother Ben X. That's how me and Brother Ben met,
Right.
because I was out 2 years. I was going to Sunday meetings
Right.
at the mosque where I was from, but I never raised my hand. I never raised my hand. I would just go and listen.
Right.
Come back, grab me some drink or whatever. I gotta, be with this chick or whatever. We do our thing, whatever. But every Sunday I knew, okay, what I got on my agenda. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Me and her, we going out Saturday. Shoot, we gonna have a good time. We gonna kick it. We gonna do all that. Sunday, I gotta go to the mosque.
Right.
I gotta go to the mosque. And see, some people are here and be like, "Oh, bro, that's hypocritical. You showing out Saturday, all Saturday, Sunday.
Right.
You in the mosque? Yeah,
Right.
that's right. Look, Allah giving me room
Right. Right. Right.
to correct. Allah is the most merciful. See,
Absolutely.
so that's why that's important that we don't judge. That's why the minister say, look, when you see your brother fall or your sister, don't laugh or don't point, don't talk, because you got to go through that same thing, man.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
that's maturity and that's wisdom in
100%.
that. And when we can hear that from a man that God has amongst us, and we're able to not only hear that, but we're able to understand that, it matures us in our own personal life. And what else do it do? It brings us closer to Allah.
Absolutely.
See?
I bear witness.
And so these things were happening. So just to go back to your question, how does these things happen, brother? How are you able to, where brothers got out and turned back and left the Quran, left Islam, left the reality of God? How are you still going? Am I perfect? No. Do I still
Right.
stumble? Absolutely. But
Right.
how do I keep this knowing that this is the most important thing to me? What I got going on now. See,
Right.
God will allow things to come into your life that will happen, not to chastise you, but it's
Right.
to, and to us, it may seem like a chastisement. Oh, but God don't care nothing about your emotions.
Right.
God does things with intelligence. He doesn't do things. He has emotion, but he's not gonna make a move. Oh, now you salty with God because this happened. Because the ultimate thing, and I have to say this,
Right.
the ultimate thing that happened to me. That's why when you first text me and gave me the title, Another Chance for Change. Man, that hit me so hard because in 2019, my son was shot 8 times and paralyzed from neck down. And within 3 years, I had to bury my son. buried him at 22 years old. Allah was all in that. Allah was all the way in that because this is ultimate for me. Another chance for change.
Right.
When that happened, when I lost my son, before he passed, Allah gave me a grace period with him.
Right.
He was paralyzed from neck down. He was on a breathing machine. He couldn't get off. He never left the hospital. COVID hit 2020.
Yeah.
Okay. They take us, you can't come visit. You can't come see him no more because of his situation. All visitation shut down. I couldn't see him for 18 months.
Wow.
So I couldn't see my son. So I'm in a blur, just going through life.
Right. Right.
2019, I have a baby boy, knowledge born. I got a 5-year-old right now. Praise be to Allah. I have a baby boy. At 20 months, I found out that he had autism. That's another blow.
Right. Right. Right.
When that hit me, I felt like that Allah was cursing me. I said, I'm cursed. I said, I'm being chastised for all the things that I've done that I didn't get caught for.
Wow.
I said, man, all my past is catching up to me.
Right.
And that's what I was feeling. That's what I was thinking. And then I forget who it was. When I found out that my son, my baby boy, because my oldest son that had got shot, he was already paralyzed
Right.
in the hospital.
Right.
So can you imagine?
Mm.
I'm going to the hospital. I'm going to go see him.
Yeah.
Paralyzed from neck down on a breathing machine. He can't move. I have to get in his view for him to see me. He can't even turn. He got to be, so I got to get in. They got to raise him up and I got to get in a view where he can see me. If
Right. Right.
something on his nose, I have to wipe it off. A fly, he can't even, he can't do nothing.
Right.
So just imagine me on my way to go see him every time, going to go visit. That's the
Right.
longest ride, sister.
Right.
That's the longest ride that I've ever had to experience because I'm saying to myself, I'm praying to Allah, what do I go and say?
Right. Right. Right.
What do I go and say to him? What do I do? This is my son. This is my younger self. This is my younger self, looking at myself, a reflection of me. What do I do? What am I supposed to say to a man who can't move? What am I supposed to say to a man who's physically dead? Only still breathing, but physically a vegetable. What do I say? And we're talking about second chance. We're talking about a second chance for change.
Right.
And I'm giving you everything. This is my second chance, Sister Ebony.
Yes,
Everything that I'm telling you that I've been through, yes, it's been hurting. Yes, it's been painful. And it's still painful. It's still times where I just bust out and cry.
Right. Right.
You know? But I forget who it was, but they sent me Second Corinthians. Can't remember exactly which one it was, but it was Second Corinthians where Paul
Right.
had asked Allah to remove a thorn from his side.
Right.
He asked God 3 times, remove this thorn from my side, Allah. And Allah told him no. Allah said, no, I'm not going to remove that thorn from your side.
Right.
What is the thorn, sister? Allah told Paul, that thorn is there not to chastise you.
Right.
That thorn is there to make you remember to keep me as a priority.
Right. Right. Right.
Oh, man. When I seen that, I said, man, God is, I had to ask myself, I had to ask Allah
Right.
in the person of Master Father Muhammad,
Right.
why am I so deserving?
Right.
Why am I so deserving of your grace? All this messing up my past and certain things that I'm still doing, I know, and you're giving me this mercy. I'm able to hear your representation, your man on the scene in
Right.
the Minister Farrakhan,
Right.
and you still showing me favor. See, God will give you favor when you don't even deserve it.
Right.
That's what most
Merciful.
merciful is.
Right.
He's
Right.
going to give you favor when you don't, and you know damn well you don't deserve it.
Facts.
But Allah says, I'm going to bless you with that so you can come to me.
Right.
Come to me. I don't know no supreme being that's like that.
Right. Right. Right.
See?
Right.
So um to have that time after that 18 months where I couldn't see my son for COVID, when
Right.
I would go back and visit him, me and him would talk. And it got to the point where I could feed him. His phone was set up where he can have a voice call my dad. And it would call, and me and
Right.
him would talk on the phone for shit, 2-3 hours. You
Right.
know,
Right.
Daddy, what you doing? Oh man, nothing, just got off work. What you got going? Oh man, I'm up here watching the Cowboy game. You know, oh man, y'all sorry, man. I know, man. I'm a Green Bay Packer fan. He said, man, y'all gonna be good, man. So we just walking up things. And so God told me, enough of this frivolous conversation. Now that your son is in the situation he is, tell him about the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Tell him about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. Tell him the reality of God appearing in the person of Master Father Muhammad. Tell him now. He can't do nothing but listen.
Yes, sir.
And so that's what I started doing. I started telling him, speaking to him. You remember when you came and you met Brother Ben, you met Brother Malik Jr., you met
Right.
my study group coordinator, my local minister, Brother Malik Muhammad. You remember? You remember seeing his sons when they was young?
Right.
You remember seeing these brothers? When I told you, son, this is my life, this is what I'm a part of through my imperfections. This is my lifestyle. This is
Right.
my home. This is where I'm at. I said, you remember that? Yeah, I remember Brother Ben. I remember Junior. I
Right.
remember seeing Brother Malik. I remember seeing, them other sisters with they was covered up, man. I remember seeing that. I said, man, pull this up on YouTube. He pulled it up on YouTube on his phone. They had a little special thing where I said, look, this is what I want you to look at Fear, Faith, and Truth. That's the
Right.
first lecture that I gave him of the Honorable Mr. Louis Farrakhan. Fear,
Right.
Faith, and Truth. And I said, I want you to watch that for 2 or 3 days.
Right.
And when you finish, I'm going to come back and visit you and you tell me what you think about it.
Right.
And he did. 3 days went by. He said, man, I'm ready to talk to you.
Yes, sir.
When I went up there and seen him, he started telling me about certain things that the minister was saying.
Right.
And as God is my witness, as Allah is my witness, the way that he was responding to certain things and he was asking me, I knew he was understanding what the minister was saying.
Right. Right.
That
Right.
all praise is due to Allah. And he just thought one day, he just said, man, guess what? I said, what? He said, shoot, I'm Muslim. he said,
Praise be to Allah.
he said it just like that. He said, oh, I'm
Yeah.
Muslim.
Yeah.
He said, I'm in the nation. And I
Right.
was like, oh yeah. He said, yeah. He said, Farrakhan is the truth. He said, I'm in the nation.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
he started telling it, he was, because his mom, his mother, I didn't say this, his mother got 12 years in the penitentiary. She's been incarcerated even before he got shot. In 2019, she
Wow.
got locked up in June of 2019. He got shot in
Right.
September of 2019. She's still locked. Even through his passing, she's still in prison right now.
Wow. Wow.
She's still in prison right now. So I'm saying all this to say that, yeah, Allah, it's a lot of things that I've been going through on this journey.
Right.
And I wanna say this real quick before we go further, before we get preparation to close.
Yes, sir.
I wanna apologize to the brothers and sisters for not having more copies of my Determined to Change book. It's been a lot of things that I've been transitioning
Yes,
in and
sir.
taking care of. Right now, I don't have copies. I still have the determinedtochange.org. If you would like to see it in a ebook format, I still have that determinedtochange.org. You can go see that on the ebook format, but I don't have copies at this time. But at the same time, I just wanted to acknowledge that
Right.
because it's so much that has happened and so much going on, and I have so much more to give. I got so much more to open up to.
Right.
Uh,
Right.
but when that time is right, and I was concerned about that, and I've been frustrated about that, and Allah told me, "Hey, look, you gonna get to that.
Right.
Social media can wait. You gonna. I need you to focus on this. That's not on social media. This is something
Right.
in your actual life that you need to take as a priority."
For sure.
So I wanted to say that was in my spirit to say to the audience, man. I
Yes,
apologize
sir.
for that, but that will be coming in the near future, brothers and sisters. But yes, sister, I know we've been on this for a long
Yes. Yes.
time,
Yes.
and I'm full, but we definitely got to do a part two.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Because honestly, I have like, already have more questions,
Yes,
but what you have said, sparked more questions as well, and I think it's very beneficial, especially for young brothers and young sisters who, are caught up in the streets and stuff like that. And sometimes it's hard to even have an idea of what it looks like on the other side without having like an example and somebody to say, well, like I made it on the other side, or I'm
right.
at least striving to get to the other side, right? So
Yes, ma'am.
um thank you for sharing, and thank you for being open
Absolutely,
and willing to, share your story so candidly, right?
absolutely. Praise
So
God.
question about
Yes,
the ebook form, is there's a website for that?
yes. Determinedtochange.org.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I'll just,
So
when I post this, I'll put it
yeah,
at the bottom.
yes, ma'am. Determinedtochange.org. Like I said, I've said this before on another platform that
Okay.
I have so much unseen footage. Even
Right.
when I was homeless, I was sleeping in my car.
Right.
At the time, I had to bury my son. For some reason, I went through some financial economic woes,
Right.
and I was a part of a brilliant entity with Brother Ben X and others, and
Right.
we had a beautiful experience of traveling all over the world, experiencing some high value conversations and dialogues and entrepreneurs, and made mil we as a whole we made millions of dollars,
Right.
and we lost millions of dollars.
Right. Right.
And so through all of that, we were able to see our own flaws,
Right.
right? A lot stripped us from that, but the experiences, I know that Allah had mercy on us for us to record the data of those experiences, and
Right.
to know that we had some great times with one another. But and more importantly is getting back to the focal point of Allah being that priority. So
Right.
it puts everybody's character on Front Street.
Right.
You
Right.
know,
Right.
I humbly say that, and being determined to change was not just about knowing, but it was what not only just believing but to knowing, because like I said, I was homeless, living in my car, a lot of things. This was after the millions, and this was after the private jets and planes, and being on islands and going from New York to LA to Florida Keys and to Miami and to just all kind of places that you know you unlimited things that we were doing, and just to come back to a humble character and still be here to talk about it and still have room to experience it again
Right.
is very humbling.
Right. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's definitely, that was one of the questions I wanted to get into as well. But you said it. We're gonna do a part two, right?
Yes,
In
absolutely.
inshallah, I'll be
Inshallah.
happy to have you back to
Yes,
do a
ma'am.
part two in the
Yes, ma'am.
coming time frame.
Yes.
But yeah, so let's just end it there. I don't know if you have anything like, maybe we can end it with like, what is something that you could leave with, like the young brother, the young sister who is in the streets, or is in between, the two, and striving to be righteous, or maybe not even striving to be righteous, but wants to do better, doesn't see any like future in the streets. Like, could you give any like word of wisdom or advice to end this
Yeah.
off?
Yes, ma'am. I know it's cliche. Everybody always, oh man, stay in school and get a good education, but I'm
Right,
not that type of person. I will just say this: a person who's seeking to do better, a person who's seeking that God force that they don't understand, or a person who's not even seeking that, right?
right,
Just from my experiences, I got to be real with you and tell you something for you to see what what we've been talking about for the last hour and a half. Something has to happen.
right,
What that actual uh thing that's going to happen, I'm not a law. I can't tell you.
right,
But what I can say is that whenever it happens, I just pray to Allah that whenever that thing happens to that woman or to that man, to that boy or to that girl,
right,
that Allah activate himself consciously in that person to turn towards that reality in them so that they can get on the journey of gaining God's favor, even though they have it already. But to be able to understand that favor, I pray to Allah that whoever comes encounter to that they're able to recognize that.
right. Okay, so there you have it. That's We're gonna end off right there. Thank you all for joining us live. Those of you who did, thank you if you're watching the replay. Um, like, comment, subscribe, and share it with somebody who you think that would benefit from this message, because I know it could benefit so many, so many. So thank you. May Allah continue to bless you all, and have a blessed day. Peace.
Yes, indeed. Assalamu alaikum.